Welcome to Bass Singing Central. Thank you for watching this video. I'm Matt Fouch, and our special guest for this episode is Eric Hollaway, a professional voiceover talent and bass singer. If it's your first time, please hit the subscribe button and click the bell to get notifications. If you want to support this channel, you can do so by clicking the link in the description and ordering It's a Bass Thing gear. It's almost 100% customizable, and you get a 15% discount by using the code in the description. You guys are going to absolutely love this interview with Eric. He shares a lot of great content and gives you guys a lot of great information. Sit back, relax, enjoy this interview with Eric Hollaway.
As far as me personally, my particular bass style and genre, I started listening to Southern gospel. I was probably a kid, hearing it on the radio and hearing it on different Sunday morning shows.
Yeah.
Like when, not particularly here in Florida, but like when we would visit our grandparents in Georgia, on a Sunday morning, there was this show that came on, and it was a live recording, but they had all these groups that would come on and sing. Some of them gospel, but a lot of them were Southern gospel. And then that's how I learned the difference, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And something in me as a child was always prone to harmony. I just love harmony. I think that's why I love classical music so much, because it's just one big piece of harmony. And Southern gospel gave me that, where regular gospel music didn't. So that kind of drew me to Southern gospel. It's not big here in Tampa Bay, Florida. Florida is geographically in the South, but when people think about the South, they're really thinking about South Carolina, Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas. Those are the Southern, Florida kind of out there. We're down here in the South, but we're not like that. You know what you mean? You know what I mean? And so if you get higher toward Georgia, like Gainesville area, that area up there, then you start to get some of that Southernness, but down here in Tampa Bay, man, you don't hear a lot of that. And so I would get on the radio and I would hear it when I could hear it, but it wasn't very accessible here.
Right.
But
Well,
now
Eric, let me ask you a question real quick. Starting out on, you're talking about just the journey you've been on and the things that you've done and everything. What do you feel like is some of the important tips or things that you learned along the way that has helped you develop your voice as a bass singer?
Okay. I get that question so often on my feeds on YouTube. One of the things I premise my answer with is that I recognize that God gave me this voice. There wasn't a whole lot I did to get it. You can call it genetics, heredity, because like I said, my dad's a bass, but my voice superseded his when I was a teenager. So that was just given to me. Now, understanding care of the voice, being trained as a vocalist, you have to have your rest. You have to be conscientious of how you speak to people. Like if you're yelling, raising your voice a lot, that's not good. You have to drink plenty of fluids. You have to be conscious of the environments that you're in. One of the things that I hated when I was with my groups was that a lot of times we would go out and sing in clubs or bars and stuff like that. And back then, it wasn't like it is now where you had to go outside and smoke. You just lit it up right there. Even in restaurants, as crazy as it sounds, you got a smoking side and a non-smoking side within one building, so how does that work? But that's the way it was back then. So one of the things that I was very conscientious of even back then, and it kind of hindered us as far as going out and performing, me protecting my instrument. And I'm like, guys, I can't go back to that place because the next day I wouldn't be able to talk hardly. And it wasn't because of me singing or talking too much. It was just because the atmosphere was full of smoke.
Mm.
And so I'm very conscientious of, even now, when people are around me, vaping or something like that, I'll either take off the other direction or I'll ask them to put it out in my presence. Alcohol, and I'm not speaking against alcohol, but alcohol can have effects on your vocal cords. Smoking. If you smoke, I know a lot of singers who smoke, and some bass singers, I think they think that they need to smoke to keep that grovelly low voice. But my thing is, if it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do anything that I know is going to harm me or my voice or my health just to have a certain sound come out of my mouth. I'm just not going to do it. But I do know of people who do that kind of thing just to get that. But yeah, but those are the basics. Take care of your instrument. Treat it like gold. Treat it like it's precious to you.
Well, it is, because we only have this one shot with our voice, really. And you can buy an insurance policy, I'm sure, on your voice somewhere, but I mean that you get one shot with it. So do what you can to make sure that you keep it in good health and it's good quality. Now, I wanted to touch also on the Oktavist thing that we were talking about a little bit ago. Are there any type of placements or techniques that you use to help you with the sound that you're going for when you're trying to sing that style?
No. Okay. I do know of techniques. I can't think of the name, but I think it starts with a K. I want to say Carigula or something like that, but it's some type of like monk singing, kind of technique that they do. And I only learned that from these guys in this Facebook group I mentioned, the bass astronomy group, because like I said, those guys are like encyclopedias of the bass voice. I tell you, I am so impressed. But there's that technique, and then there's some other techniques that I've seen people do. And my whole thing is, do you want to sing? Are you a singer? Or are you just trying to hit a note? My whole thing is about singing.
Yeah.
And if I can't actively use that note or that sound in a song, it's useless to me, whether I can hit it or not. I've seen a lot of bass singers, especially in Southern gospel, and I love it. I love it. Don't get me wrong, but they put on that bass show, and I love it. That's what kind of drew me into it, because I'm like, man, I want to do that. And even now, people ask me, if I'm singing or something, they want to see the show,
Right.
And so sometimes I'll do that, because I know that's people like to hear that. It's fun. It's fun for me. It's fun for them. But beyond just that segment, what else are you doing with your voice? Are you blending well with the other guys or the rest of the group? Do you guys have a tight knit, uniform sound? I mean, it's got to be more than just hitting a note. But I do get that. I do get that. But it's just got to be so much more than just hitting a note. So as an Oktavist, there's no technique that I do. Like I said, I didn't even know I was an Oktavist until, I'm 30 some years old, almost 40 something years old. And I'm learning about my own voice. I'm an Oktavist. But there are techniques out there, and there are YouTube videos that people can go to learn these techniques and find out about them. But me particularly, I don't use any techniques. I tell people I just open my mouth and sing
So
when
you're,
I'm doing.
I was going to say, so your singing journey is basically just what would be anybody else's going to a vocal coach or going to school to be trained for singing. It's the same type of experience, same type of exercises, everything. It's just you
Right,
have an abnormally low voice, like so many
right,
bass singers do. And so you've done everything the exact same way they would. It's just your voice is an octave lower or two octaves lower than the normal guy, right?
that's it. That's it in a nutshell. Um, if there were other techniques, I wouldn't know about them because that's never been my thing. Uh, I open my mouth and I sing. Now, when I do collaborations, we'll always have a discussion. Um, Sometimes they'll key it, especially for me, because they want that bass sound to really ring out. But then other times they're keying it for themselves if they're singing the lead. And then but the collaboration is also communication. They say, well, are these parts okay for you, Eric? So we always talk about that. And there's never a time where I'm going to sing a piece that I'm struggling to sing, or I'm trying to go beyond what my natural barriers are. Now, I've been blessed with an extensive range. It's almost 5 octaves if you consider falsetto. But even with falsetto, I take it back to what I said earlier. If those aren't usable notes, then I'm not going to use them. They're no good to me. Um, but if you think back to the Temptations, Eddie Kendricks, and other people have those high, even some male opera singers, man, you know, um, those are usable notes, but they're in the rafters. Um, so I use that when I can, but I'm not trying to make anything happen, if that makes sense. Um, and it's got to make sense for the whole piece in general, not just me putting on the show or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's how I do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Is
it's
there you had mentioned you've got a great voiceover career. That's what you do for a living
that's
and
what
do that full time. Is there any type of relation between outside of just keeping your voice fresh and the quality good? Is there any type of for those guys that are watching this and they're like, man, I love bass singing, but I also have this voice. Maybe I could use it for voiceover. I was talking with Alvin Chia not too long ago, and he's also a voiceover artist as well. Is there any relation between as far as like any type of exercises that a person could do between voiceover and bass singing that maybe could help a guy out that maybe he's looking at both of those?
absolutely. And it's funny you asked that because I'm actually in the process now as a voice actor, putting together a series of tips. Um, and most of those tips are things I learned as a singer. So there's absolutely a correlation. It all comes back to exercising those muscles in your face, your jaw, your throat, larynx, all that. The same things we talked about earlier as far as taking care of your voice as a singer. You want to do those same things as a voice actor. Um, in addition to voice acting, acting. You got to learn how to act, so get into improv, take some acting classes. If you're just a natural cut up, when your mom was always saying, sit down and stop cutting a fool or whatever, like I was a natural
Yeah.
cut up, but little did I know how much that would come into play into what I do now for a full-time living. When I used to imitate those Saturday morning cartoons, that's what I do now for a living and get paid
Yeah.
for it. So it's all about, first off, taking care of your instrument, whether you're voicing, singing, acting, doing public speaking for a living, anything that you're using your voice, that's your instrument. So those basics go across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Watch your environments you're in, drinking, smoking, and taking care of it as far as getting plenty of rest. Um, all those things are the same across the board. You're using your voice, so it's that same instrument. So you take care of it the same way, basically. Now the skills are different. Like I said, you want to learn some acting skills. You want to start doing some improv. You want to get into monologuing. And again, getting used to hearing your own voice, because that's a big hurdle for a lot of people. They hear themselves record and they're like, ooh, that's me. Yeah, that's you, And one of the easy things I can give people, an easy thing right now, if you just hold your hands out like this, like an elephant, cup your ears behind, and kind of like a 45-degree angle, and then you start talking, and that's basically how you will sound recorded. So if you ever want to know what you'll sound like recorded, and you want to try to get used to it, do this for a while, and that'll give you a sense of what other people actually hear coming out of your mouth. It's pretty good. That's a technique I picked up some years ago.
That's cool. What's the lowest note you've recorded on a song?
On a song, whew, "Do Not Forgive Me in My Old Age" by Chesnokov, which is a German composer. That's kind of a bass anthem in that genre. Um, the the original writing goes down to, I think, a low G at the end. It's only been recorded once or twice, and I know the main one that I know of is by Glenn Miller. I don't know if you know who Glenn Miller is,
Yeah.
but Glenn Miller is an Oktavist, basso profundo. He actually does a lot of Oktavist chorale singing. He travels around the world and does it. He is absolutely fantastic. And he did a recording of "Do Not Forgive Me in My Old Age," Chesnokov, and he actually did the original ending. So when he did that, I actually did a video of myself singing along with Glenn on one of my YouTube videos, and followed him right down to the end. And I think that was a low G. In the world of opera, I don't think there's ever been a piece written in the opera world that goes below a low C. So if you want to be an opera bass and you can sing a low C, sustain a low C, then you're okay there.
Good to go.
Anything below that, you're just having fun.
Yeah.
In Southern gospel, I think you get below C and G and whatever you can do. But yeah, in opera and in what I call Russian folk singing, I guess. I know that's not what it's called, so forgive me. But it's Orthodox singing that they do, a lot of Orthodox singing. And they really get into those Russian basses. I mean, I grew up knowing what Russian basses were. They had voices like you never heard anywhere. And so that was something that, especially with the advent of the internet, that was something I really dove into to just hear and learn about those Russian basses. And Vladimir Miller, same last name as Glenn Miller. Vladimir Miller is like the premier Oktavist over on that side of the pond. I would say Glenn Miller is the premier Oktavist on this side of the pond. And they actually got together, I think it was last year, a couple of years ago, and did some singing together. So that was a pretty amazing thing for guys like me.
That's great. That's great. Well, Eric, man, I've enjoyed myself today, dude. Let these guys watching know where they can connect with you, hear some of your voiceover stuff, and listen to some of your tunes.
Okay. Well, I had a great time talking to you, man. And over the course of the last few weeks, I've really dove into, a lot of your material and get to know what you're all about. And I'm absolutely a fan, man. I've been a fan of the group for years. Didn't know you guys individually, but now I can say at least I know one. But I appreciate the invite. If people want to hear me, they can absolutely hear me on YouTube. They can Google me. I think that's the easiest way. Google Eric Hollaway, EricHollaway. Sometimes people spell it with an O, and that's not me. So it's Hollaway. On Instagram, I'm That Bass Voice, and that's my title across pretty much all my social media. That Bass Voice. On Twitter, I'm Eric Hollaway DO. On Facebook, I have a Facebook group page where I'm Eric Hollaway, voice actor, I think. But That Bass Voice or Eric Hollaway will get you to all my material. I recently even joined TikTok. Yeah, and I'm That Bass Voice on TikTok. So.
That's awesome. Well, man, thank you for doing this. And I know that you've provided some great content for the